So something we've been doing lately that's been working really well. I've had this across my agency clients, and I've also had this over my inner circle students, is not turning any ads off. We've all seen those Facebook ad libraries before where they have like 700, 800, even 1,000 ads live. And it always made me wonder because we've always had typically like 5-10 ads that take majority of spin and like everything else just not work. So how do you actually build up an ad library of 700 to 1,000 ads, for example, that's live in the account? And actually, how do you manage all that? And what I've learned and what's been working for us is just simply not turning any ads off. So for us, we leverage the single campaign strategy per business objective. So, we do one campaign per business objective, and it's a CBO campaign. And then we just simply create a new ad set every time we have new ads to launch inside of that particular ad account. And for a business objective, that's going to be, let's say, for example, you have a clothing brand with 2 different product categories, maybe t-shirts and pants. Then you would have one CBO for t-shirts, one CBO for pants. Then let's say you have a women's collection and a men's collection. You would have the product categories for men, then the product categories for women. So you might have like 5 campaigns for men, 5 campaigns for women. And then I also do one campaign per country. So you might have like 4 countries you're advertising into. So you might have 10 to 20 campaigns for men, 10 to 20 campaigns for women, depending on your scale and stuff like that. So just so you understand how like everything's structured from there. Now, on the other side here is when we fill in ads with that CBO campaign, we're allowing Facebook to spin however it sees fit. That's why we do a CBO campaign. We allow Facebook to optimize based off what's most likely to convert. Again, Facebook has one goal, and that's keeping customers on their platform. And guess what? We're not the customers, not the advertisers, the customers, the people who sit there and scroll on Facebook every day. Those are the people that Facebook wants to keep on the platform. So they're not worried about us advertisers. So they don't care if your ads get results or not. But they do work with you, and they do want you to get results, because if you get results, you'll spend more money. And if you spend more money, they make more money, since they have 100% profit margin on ad spend, since they own the platform. So in this particular case here, Facebook's going to spend on whatever ad is resonating with the most people. It's getting engagement, and every ad has its own engagement rate. So like, let's say out of 1,000 people or 1 out of 100 people engage with your ad has a 1% engagement rate. Let's say your top performing ad, 10 people out of 100 engage with your ad, you now have a 10% engagement rate. And Facebook's going to spend more or less depending on the engagement rate, and then also to the number of people that appeal to that ad. That's why our aware ads get very little spin, since it's for people that's already been to the website, have already seen the product, or already sold and just waiting for the right price. And then for our unaware ads, they get significantly more spin, because we're specifically targeting a large demographic of people who maybe wake up in the morning with a sore throat. That's it. That's the only qualification for someone to want to look at that ad. Now, in that case right there, Facebook's going to spend more or less depending on that. And Facebook will also leverage that CBO campaign to spend more or less on those ads. And even some days it will tweak different ads. So some days it might spend more on one ad, some days it might spend more on another ad. This is all signs right here that Facebook builds a ad ecosystem where it leverages a variety of ads to accomplish the goal of getting you the results that you want, which is purchases most likely, or lead gen, from a few people on this channel that watch me for lead gen. So when we're turning off an ad, we're throwing off that ecosystem out of balance. And when we throw that ecosystem out of balance, that's usually where we start to see just like a bunch of jumps up and down in performance. And I've seen this so many times before. Client or student will be seeing some bad performance. Like, it's not like terribly bad where they're losing a ton of money, but it's just like, hey, this is not where we want to be. And then they go and start turning a bunch of ads off, and then all of a sudden their account just tanks and they do way worse in terms of results. And that was because, yes, you're not getting the results you want right now, but turning off a bunch of ads what happens? You throw off that ecosystem, and you throw off Facebook's ability to leverage a variety of ads to accomplish the goal that you want. Even ads that may have spent $200 with no purchases collectively overall are helping you accomplish that cost per acquisition that you're getting on that particular campaign right there. Now, I've also made this metaphor before, or this kind of like story where, I love a lot of like military shit. I'm kind of a tactical shithead myself, so I have a lot of guns and like all those things like that. And I love watching like the budge training, which is like basically the training you go to for like becoming like a Navy SEAL and stuff like that. And buds is like one of the like craziest trainings you could ever possibly like, just even do, like literally like not say five, but like 150 to 200 of like the world's best like people who just come off like regular military training will go to budge training, and like maybe 5 or 6 people will graduate for how like physically demanding it is. Long story short, one of the things they have to do is carry the boats, kind of like David Goggins says, who's going to carry the boats, and they got to carry these little boats that are like a couple hundred pounds. I think it's 500 pounds per boat, and it takes 6 people have to basically put it above their head and hold the boat up. Now, I've talked about this before, where these 6 people carry this boat basically throughout the course, throughout the day, for like a week or 2 weeks for the period of this budge training. And out of those 6 people right there, if any 2 or 3 of those people would be removed, and it only allows 3 to 4 people to carry that boat, it's substantially heavier on the other 3 or 4 people that are carrying that particular boat right there. And then those people slow down, they don't perform as good anymore. And then like sometimes the boat doesn't even make it to the destination that they want. Like if 3 people would have to carry a 500-pound boat, now instead of, let's say, 6 people carrying 500 pounds, that's going to be what, like just sub 85, 90 pounds that each person's technically carrying in that sense right there. Whereas if 3 people are doing it, now it's just sub 200 pounds each. It doubles the workload. Now that we double the workload, what happens? They're a lot more fatigue, they just don't perform as good anymore. And then if we're managing an ad account and it's like, oh shit, we just turned off a couple bad performers, so those people that were already being slow carrying the boat, we removed them, and then now 3 people are carrying the boat, but it's the top performers. Now they carrying a heavier workload, and then what happens here? They either drop the fucking boat and fall to the ground, or like they get to the destination, but in this extremely slower speed, takes them a lot longer. They just do not perform as good. And this is the same thing when we're looking at an ad account. When we're looking at an ad account, yes, there is some underperformers in that account, but they all are still helping with the overall ads that are crushing it. They do take some of that workload off of those ads. Facebook's already smart enough to understand the hey, these ads can handle 200 pounds each of that boat, and these little guys can only handle like the last 30 pounds of that boat, and collectively all together they can carry the boat in an efficient perspective and have a lot strong performance for carrying it and stuff like that. So that's how I like to look at an ad account when I'm like turning ads on and off. It's, hey, 90% of the time, just leaving everything on, even if there's a couple bad ads in there that are underperforming, always outworks and outweighs me going in the account and trying to like micromanage and tweak the fuck out, turning a bunch of things off. And every time I get students on this manner and clients on this manner, they always see better results. I can't tell you how many times like I go on vacation for like 5-6 days, I'm traveling or something like that, and I'm just not like as like responsive for like on Slack and like management of accounts for clients and stuff, and they do way better results. And I'm like, damn, I didn't touch this account for 5 days and it does way better. It's like, why? Because I wasn't tweaking the fuck out on the account every day, like micromanaging every single little ad and like stressing over every little ad. And then the account overall optimizes and just does better. So in this case right here, I'm just simply just not turning ads off anymore. If I launch 50 new ads for testing and none of them get spin, I'm just letting them roll. In this case here, let's say I do launch a new ad. Today's Tuesday at the time I'm filming this video. I launched a new ad today, Tuesday. And like, let's just say I'm hovering at like $10,000 a day in revenue. And then tomorrow, Wednesday, this new ad I launched takes overall spin. And when it takes overall spin, then performance tanks now. Why? Because this ad takes overall spin, and because it takes overall spin, let's just say we're spending $3,000 today. $3,000 today, make back 10K. That's a pretty good deal. We're spending $3,000 today, make back 10K, and that ad takes up $2,500 to spin out the $3,000 today. And instead of doing 10K, we do like 5K. We see a significant drop in performance. Then what I would essentially do is just give that ad another day or two. And if we still hover around that 5-6K a day, then I'm turning that ad off. Why is that ad being turned off, but I'm not turning off other ads? Why? Because it took overall spend, and we saw a direct reflection in performance when it took overall spend and we turned things off. So that's the only thing I'm doing right there. That's the only time I'm turning an ad off, because it makes no sense for me, like when I know for a fact that ad took overall spend and tanked things. Whereas if I launch a bunch of ads and they don't get any spend and we don't really see any impact on performance negatively, then why am I going to turn them off? I'm just going to let them roll. And that's how the approach I'm taking accounts. And it makes things even easier from a media buying perspective, because now all I'm doing is uploading ads a couple times a week, maybe even once a week, just kind of depending on the client accounts. And then that's it. Then I'm just adjusting budget here and there. It's further just helping out with that removing of human interaction and removing the job of a media buyer, to be fair, as over time that job will further go extinct. Like my media buyer right now only has one goal: upload ads, I send them, and adjust budget. That's it. That's all I pay them for. So from there, that's what we're doing right now. I recently got this, just really focused on this the last 30 days and just kind of like measured performance. And we saw a $20 drop. Cost per lead was like 71. We dropped it down to 51 by just simply not turning any ads off. And then for a couple students who've also recently employed this, they have also seen substantially better performance just by going in, turning everything back on, not turning anything. Now they have way more ads active, and basically they saw a big dip in performance as well, or a big increase in performance as well. So long story short, just not turning any ads off, letting the algorithm spend more or less, regardless if I have 50 ad sets with 50 ads in each one. Like, I trust Facebook to figure things out and just let it roll and let it have fun and let it optimize and stuff like that. And it'll get you the results if you want, if your creatives are good. If your creatives are bad, not from a perspective manner of, oh, I think that creative looks good because I spent a lot of time and money in it. I'm talking about more from perspective of what Facebook is going to reward you with. Then from there, you'll be good to roll. So hope you all enjoyed this video. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button for new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Thank you all so much for watching. If you want me to run your ads, click the link below to have Nick Theriot run your ads. If you want me to mentor you, give you ad angles and like things to like review your ad account and help you out your ad account and stuff like that, then click the link below to have Nick Theriot mentor you. Thank you all for watching. Hope you have a good rest of y'all day. Peace out.